Today, we expose it all to the world. Buildings, structures that are from the previous civilization in every single state, looking so out of place. Palaces that I believe were originally meant for all of us and have since been taken over. Today, we go and visit a palace from the old world that now holds a new name, calling it the Wisconsin State Capitol Building, located in Madison, Wisconsin, where we are told that this is, of course, the fifth structure to serve as the Wisconsin State Capitol. We have seen this over and over, multiple buildings. We know here that this narrative is 100% repeating. This is not the fifth building on this site. And we all know this. Today, this narrative will be exposed to the world forever. I'm going to put the mainstream narrative into checkmate right now. We are told that in 32 AD, the people from 2,000 years ago were over in Palmyra, Syria, constructing palace cities. Stone, marble, and granite columns all over the place 2,000 years ago. Exactly like we've shown and gone into great detail about. And then we evolve and we advance so much over the next 2,000 years that we construct the first Capitol building in Wisconsin. And it's a prefabricated wood frame house without heat and without water. So what the heck happened? How can we evolve and advance from stone and granite columns everywhere in the world into wood frame sheds? If you had your eyes closed and your fingers in your ears so far, you would still hear and you would still see that we are not evolving and we are not advancing. We fully understand at this point that an event took place within the last few hundred years that took the previous civilization, an extremely powerful and an extremely advanced group of people, and removed them all. An event that set all of us back to the beginning. Dirt roads, a brand new history. Horses and wagons and outhouses. We are told that the first Capitol building was constructed in 1836, the wood shed. And here is a photo of it, supposedly. And if you ask me, it looks like something that we build today, using the same pathetic vinyl siding that we do today, and then telling all of us this ridiculous story about it. We have shown that the world population, if you go back only a few hundred years, it drops down to basically nothing. Nobody was here in the 1700s, all according to the information that we are given. 1840, 1,800 years after the palace cities in Syria. Nobody was here in the entire state of Wisconsin. Not just Madison. Only had 30,000 people in the entire state. And you might say, well, that's because the USA is new. It's a brand new country. We just started in 1776. Well, the same thing is going on in Syria, with a massive spike very recently in the population. Were they a brand new country? No, they were not. Just like we have shown, without even looking at the photos, without looking at the narratives, by only looking at the population data, we can clearly see that a population of nobody. They were not riding around on Seabiscuit and their wagon attached, hauling granite and carving stone, constructing palaces 150 years ago without a power tool. All better than we do today. And in a much more efficient, faster timeline. 100% something happened based on the data that we are given. Now, in 1860, the entire state of Wisconsin, the whole thing, only had 775,000 people. They didn't even have 1 million people yet. This is 1860. In 1850, only 10 years before that, it drops down to 305,000. So then in 1840, they only had 30,000 people here. This is the entire state of Wisconsin, only having 30,000 people. 10 years before it had 300,000. Do you see how fast the population is dropping here? In 1837, how many people were in the whole state of Wisconsin? Like 15, 20,000 people? How many people lived in Madison, that little city? That's the whole state of Wisconsin. So how many people lived in Madison at that time? 1 or 2,000 people? Well, here it is. Madison, Wisconsin, 1850. 13 years after the date we're talking about, where we know the population spiked dramatically. 1850, only 1,525 people. So how many people were in Madison, Wisconsin in 1837? Do you still believe what you've been told? Milwaukee, Wisconsin had 1,712 people in 1840. 1837, 3 years before. Madison, Wisconsin, half of them being children. How many people were here? Who was trained to build these Capitol buildings? And why is our population worldwide basically zero? Just 184 years ago. Who was constructing the palaces? Who was training everybody? No power tools, no shipping companies, no people. What are we seeing today? Why would a population of nobody, and half of them being children, why would they need to construct a second Capitol building in 1837 when nobody is here to even verify that this was actually happening? We are told these stories, and we all believed it for years until now. Verified by nobody and built by nobody. They are already on to their second Capitol building in Madison, Wisconsin, all because of the growing government of 4 people. They need to keep making new Capitol buildings, supposedly, to govern over nobody. Or did they know that this was the beginning of our new timeline, and they were preparing for all of us to be here, creating these fake stories before we all got here? And then we were all inserted into this fabricated system, located on the same exact site, we are told, of the present Capitol building. We're unable to verify if this second Capitol building was ever even here, because there was a population of basically nobody. A stone structure, we are told, all to explain this old world palace that is here before us today. Why did a population of nobody, a population with 0 training processes, freezing in the winters and struggling, why did this small community need to replace a palace stone structure over and over, riding their horse or donkey home to their sheds? When you really ask these questions and you look at the stories, you look at the stats that are given, lies begin to fall apart in an instant, especially when you know what to look for and have been shown where to look. If we were wrong, we would have been done by episode 10. We all know that the opposite is happening. We're all just getting started. We are growing to a bigger and bigger audience every single week for a reason. So the first Capitol building, 1836, the woodshed. Then 1837 to 1838. When nobody was there, and we know that, a stone structure is constructed. 1 year, and it's done. This is constructed by nobody. Are we all following so far? And then, by 1858, the stone structure that they built in a year is kicked to the curb, and a third Capitol building was constructed, we are told, telling us that it collapsed while still under construction, where that looks completed to me, and it looks like a destruction project. Look at our wooden shed right here at the bottom. This is a comparison between the old world and our world at the time. It's pathetic. Where it was, of course, you guessed it, destroyed by a fire. Can you believe how these stories all over the world are all fabricated and repeated, all generated by a computer, in my opinion? Just like we have shown. It's so easy for a computer to come up with these stories. We've shown this. Giving the technology that we have today back to us within the last 200 years, pretending like we are the most advanced group of all time. The lights are on now. The puppet show is over. The stage is now set for all of us to take our minds back. Our lives are so much more valuable than what we have all been told and shown. It's time for the world to wake up. And now that we have a solid foundation of the history surrounding this location, me and my crew are going to take the cameras inside of this old world palace, and we are going to expose the email that was sent to us. Capitol Tours and Information tells all of us there are a few tunnels that the Wisconsin State Capitol building connects to. It connects to the Risser building across the street. There is also a tunnel that continues from that tunnel down Milwaukee Street that transports utilities and steam. Tunnels that are still in use today. There is a separate tunnel that goes down East Washington Street as well, all connected to this state capitol building, all below our feet. And then, of course, the closing statement to all of us, a building that I believe was truly meant for all of us, telling us, unfortunately, the tunnels are not available to the public. Can you believe what we just read? Can you believe what is under our feet? We have shown this in Illinois, where we actually saw the tunnel under the Illinois State Capitol building. This email is verification, in my opinion, that these structures were all constructed together by the previous civilization and were all connected underground in every single city in the world. They all have tunnels. I named all the episodes that we have shown this. I don't think they're actually blocking us off from the tunnel hallways. I think the tunnel hallways actually lead to so much more. I think it would fully expose that the structures are much bigger underground. And there is a lot more going on under our feet than we could ever imagine. The Risser building across the street. So right here, we have confirmation that this structure is connected underground to the Risser Justice Center right here. Right behind this site, we have the city county building. How much do you all want to bet that the tunnel goes to that one as well? And right behind that, we have the state office building, Wisconsin Department of Health Services, and the Dane County Sheriff. I guarantee you it is all connected below our feet, and so much more that we are not allowed to see, all just to deliver some mail, of course. No, there is also a tunnel that connects down Milwaukee Street. And take a look at this. So right here, we have the state capitol building. And then we can see how close the University of Madison, Wisconsin is right here, which we will get into. But take a look how far these tunnels run. They are not just in one singular area. They extend far out. A massive web of underground tunnels and structures. We've shown in Chicago that there are structures below our feet. They've told us this, below many people's homes. And we saw that in New York. And then going on to say that there is a separate tunnel, meaning that there are multiple tunnel systems in this location alone, a separate tunnel. This one down East Washington Street. So here is East Washington. Let's start up at the top. Let's keep going down this road. And let's see where this connects to. Keep going. Let's keep going. Is that? That's the state capitol. Wait. There's a separate tunnel, we are told, that goes down East Washington Street as well. Is this guy telling us that there are multiple tunnels that all connect to this single point, the state capitol building? I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. Multiple tunnels, not just multiple tunnels in the whole city. It's multiple tunnels right under the city of Madison, Wisconsin that are all connected to the singular point of the state capitol building. If you're having fun, hit that like button and subscribe. We're all trying to pass Mr. Beast right now. So if you could hit that subscribe button, that'd be awesome. All right, let's keep going. Remember, we were told the second capitol was constructed on the same site as the present capitol in 1837, with a population of a couple squirrels and like 4 people. How long have these tunnels been there in this location? I personally believe it's much longer than 1837. I believe that all of this was found and repurposed. And then we are all given these fabricated stories. This email is absolutely incredible information to our research. Yet again, more going on under our feet. So much more than we understood before this research. The thing that I love most about this research is that it really is verifiable. You can all go to these places. They really are blocking us off from the site. They really do have tunnels in every city connecting to the buildings. A lot of tunnels all over the world, having millions of bones that they now call catacombs, where a lot of people buy a ticket and go and see it. We have also found a tunnel system that goes 17 levels underground, showing all of us that this place that we live is so much more than what we are told, not just on the ground, not only within the narratives, but also under our feet. Now, I found the blueprints to the basement of the state capitol building, where the area is rarely visited by the public. And they give us this photo with the description saying that it has ceiling paintings in the basement of Roman gods. I want to revisit this fire from the third Capitol building in 1903. They wanted a new Capitol building. The third one was not cutting it anymore. They needed another one. So they began researching a replacement, of course. So the fire story is that on the night in February 1904, a gas jet ignited a newly varnished ceiling in the third Capitol building. Although the building had an advanced firefighting system, the nearby water reservoir was of course empty, allowing the fire to spread, and the entire structure, besides the north wing, burned to the ground, with records, books, and historical artifacts stolen. Stolen? No. Lost in the fire. It was definitely lost in the fire. That was, of course, just random. A random fire, of course. I guess while they're trying to destroy it and get a new building. Remember, I explained this in our Minnesota Capitol building episode. These structures were all over this place. They held a ton of information inside of them. And we've seen that inside the cornerstones. But we all know there's more, especially when there's underground structures and tunnels. But they did destroy a ton of them to hide the true past. This third Capitol building, it was here in my opinion. I believe that all of these buildings were. They were all here. They just weren't the state capitol building. All they're doing back then is taking the items of importance out of these buildings and moving them over to the other building. They had thousands of these palaces all over the place, which is why there were so many great fires in every single city, where thousands of buildings burned down in a time period where there weren't even any people. And then you wonder why nobody got hurt. And everyone is just fine, of course. We've seen the stats. Episode 59, where Baltimore just wanted to change a couple stats after that episode. On February 3rd, 2024, we released episode 59, The Great Fires Hold Flaws. Episode 59 is on Rumble. If you want to see it in the full, unedited version, released on February 3rd, 2024, as you can see right here. And just 4 days later, on February 7th, 2024, the Baltimore Magazine puts out an article changing the narrative of the Baltimore Great Fire, where the original narrative told us that the Great Baltimore Fire caused no deaths. And 4 days later, after our episode comes out, now 1 person in the blaze, with 4 more succumbing later to fire-related causes. Now tell me what you think about this in the comments below. Now let's get back to the episode. They tried to get a new building in 1903. 1904 just starts, February, and a random fire destroys the entire structure, and the water supply is missing and empty. And all the records, the books, and historical artifacts are all lost. The fire occurred just after the state legislature had voted to cancel the Capitol's fire insurance policy. And I don't believe that at all. What a weird statement to make right there at the end. That is something that a guilty party would do. They would say, I didn't do it for the insurance policy. See, I put it right there in the history. It's very odd. I promise we didn't get the insurance check for that one. We know how it works, especially when you control the system. Destroy the building with a fire. Collect the insurance check. Tell everybody you didn't get it. And we never find the individual who actually started the fire. It's just the random ghost. We see it all the time, even in Canada in October 2024, when the Montreal mayor says the fire did seem suspicious. So maybe the mayor has been watching the show and actually wants to know what happened. I have an idea. How about we just get a camera installed in all the surviving structures that have a column present and holds any architecture that would be difficult for us to construct today and are supposedly constructed before 1920. Now, I'm not affiliated with Ring Doorbell. These things are like $100. Do you really think the church can't afford it? We would have a total of 0 old world buildings getting destroyed by random fires. If there were a fire, the Ring Doorbell would see it and we'd know who the mystery person was. This person would be exposed in 2 seconds. It's $100 on Amazon. They can all go get one today. It would take 10 seconds and it would be there in the morning. It's so easy to fix this issue, which is why it is so obvious that they don't want to fix the issue. These are deliberate attacks on the old world structures, and it's been going on for much longer than we ever realized. So like we showed, the state capitol is here. And wait, what is this next to the capitol? The Wisconsin Mason Center. Okay. Do you think they have a tunnel too? And right next to these two structures, we have the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Surely, all connected underground. The tunnels don't just run north. We know that they are connected all over this place. Imagine how many tunnels and underground structures are underneath this area, all blocked off from the public, just like we are told. Underneath all of these thousands of students, where they're sitting there learning about the history of Wisconsin. And you know they've never heard about the massive web tunnel network right below their dorm. This is incredible. Now let me ask you, how many of these structures from the old world were handed over to the state? Government-run indoctrination, no. I mean, education institutions. I would say these buildings have been hiding right in front of our faces and have been doing so for so long. The state of Wisconsin, having a population of 30,000 people in 1840. The whole state of Wisconsin only having a population of 30,000 people. Do you understand how small this is? This is in 1840, and the whole state decides that it needs the University of Madison, Wisconsin in 1848. The same year that Wisconsin became a state. Knowing that Wisconsin became a state in 1848, and then building multiple state capitals before Wisconsin is even a state yet. I think that's pretty odd in my opinion. Just throwing together state capitals, universities and the rest, with a population of nobody. And they don't even have a state yet. It's almost like they knew that we were all on the way. I think they did. I think they knew that we were all coming and we were all just gonna believe whatever they said. And they were setting it up, resetting it up, the reset for all of us. The Wisconsin State Capitol building underwent a destruction project that lasted 14 years. The project to supposedly restore it again takes 14 years. When they tell us the project to construct the entire building and all of the tunnels and the rest only took 11 years. So it takes 3 years longer to restore the building that's already there than it does to construct the entire thing and its tunnel network. It's absolute nonsense. This building was there and has been there for much longer than we are told. And we all know this. In the 1970s, they had sealed up the stairs in the building. From 1988 to 2002, they found these stairs and are now uncovered. And this is what we are told about. What else have they found? What did these stairs lead to that were sealed up? Then they say they lowered the basement 2 feet. Clearly, they are very interested in this underground floor, or floors, just like we are here. and I don't blame them. I wish I could see them. The fact that they are blocked off from the public is very telling. This is a building that is supposedly meant to represent all of its people. Each state capitol building in the United States presents the basic, fundamental attentiveness of the state government to the people it serves. The people it serves. The buildings are there to serve the people. The elected officials are elected by the people. They are installed by the people. These buildings are there to serve the people. Yet the building that is meant to serve the people holds tunnels, and they are not available to the people. Do you find that odd? Do you find it odd that the building is really the people's building, yet the people are restricted from seeing what's inside? Now, for the people that live in this area, if I leave this part out of the story, I'm sure we'd see it in the comments. So I will inform you all that there is a man, Robert Grunenwald, better known as Tunnel Bob, a resident of Madison, Wisconsin, a man that has been exploring these tunnels since the 1970s. And apparently he lived in the tunnels under the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Patrick Rothfuss, an author, wrote a book about Tunnel Bob called The King Killer Chronicle that won a bunch of awards and was a New York Times bestseller. Now, the interesting part is that Patrick's father apparently had access to these tunnels and gave Tunnel Bob permission to work in the tunnels. And I don't know Patrick. He's probably a great guy. Again, I don't know him. But just looking here at what's been written, in 2001, he wanted to reach his charity goal of $333,333. And then later that month, he added a stretched goal of $666,666. I'm just gonna guess, but I'm sure he'd agree with me that these are interesting numbers. Remember, Patrick's dad knew something. His father gave Tunnel Bob permission to work in the tunnels. Patrick's dad worked in the U.S. Army in the 1960s, returning then to Wisconsin and working at the Murder Hospital. And in 1988, he was named the Director of Facilities Management. So I'm guessing he hired Tunnel Bob through that hospital, which means that the hospital is also connected and holds tunnels. In his books, this character is based on Tunnel Bob, depicting a character who lives underground, a labyrinth of old tunnels and hidden rooms beneath the university. Is this a fictional book, or are there old tunnels underneath the university? What do you think? Drawing on stories and elements from the real-life Tunnel Bob, what is really below our feet right now? What did his dad tell him? Is this story based on fact? All under the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Treasures, a room filled with pipes, serving as a pathway between different areas. Is this taking place all over the world, in every single city? At this point, I do believe so. I believe we are just getting started. And I believe understanding that there are massive tunnel networks from the old world right below our feet. I believe that this is going to unlock it all and show that it isn't possible for all of the incredible palaces to be connected underground, miles apart from each other, and then blocking it all off from all of us. Something massive is off. We are not shown the truth over and over. We are given what they want us to hear, and then the rest is hidden, including facts like who constructed the first 4 Capitol buildings, which construction company was building stone structures in a year from 1837 to 1838, when nobody even lived in Wisconsin. This was not the Capitol in 1837. This was another structure that they found and deleted from the world that we all live before we all got here. John S. Fuller took this photo. And what else was he taking pictures of? I think John S. Fuller was a little confused as to what these structures were doing here and wanted to show everybody. This is a photo from the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus, showing the first 3 buildings on the campus. We can clearly see the construction that we were doing at the time. Little wooden sheds right here at the bottom. And then you have the old world's work up here on the hill. And we all know that the tunnels are underneath all that dirt already. And we have the South Hall on the left. We have the University Hall right here in the middle. And then the North Hall on the right. I wish Mr. Fuller would have taken that camera and pointed it to the right a little bit so we could have seen what's over there. I bet you it was a bunch of buildings that were incredible. You can see the old world technology on the top of these buildings. And this is what I was taught about. Horses and wagons, dirt roads, and this wild, wild west looking row of hardware stores and sheds. And look at these houses. This is the construction of the time. Not palaces. The dirt roads, the wooden fences, these people were freezing in the winters. Then they have these palaces right next to them. I think this John S. Fuller was so excited the camera was invented too early, so he took these pictures to show everybody what he found. And then he probably realized that he was 100 years too early, and nobody was even going to listen to him. Imagine these people walking on the left. They had to be so confused. Or maybe they were just as blind as we were a few years ago. What an incredible photo. It's all falling apart for the mainstream narrative. We now have thousands of people uniting together, keeping an eye on these old world structures all over the world. At this point, it's undeniable that there was a previous civilization right here where we are today. A civilization that was extremely advanced, holding incredible technology worldwide, being able to construct palaces in every single continent. Where I believe this group was here only a few hundred years ago. And today, we are going to expose this even further when we go to the incredible location of Marvdasht, Iran, locating the gate of all nations in Persepolis. And I promise, you didn't see this in Social Studies 101, 102, or any other number they try to come up with. All by design. Let's expose this to the world. As of May 17th, 2024, this place is still here. And we are all able to go and see this site today with incredible photos of this place. We are told that the first scientific explorations of this location were conducted by this man, Ernst Hernsfeld, in 1931. This same exact time period, every single time. It's the 18 and early 1900s where they find these places over and over. Why weren't they performing any scientific explorations in the 1700s? Why weren't they doing it in the 1600s? Why is this? Well, we all know why that is. We all know here the population of our current civilization was basically zero. We were all reset, and we have proved this in my opinion. Nobody was here in the 1700s, all over the world. So in the early 1900s, we start finding this stuff from the previous civilization. I believe that the people that found it all, they were all controlled. And this is why we see so many artifacts being removed from the site. And this is why the narrative surrounding the locations are ridiculous. And then on top of it, we can look at the site and put patterns together that we've seen before. Just like we see here, where we have an incredible griffin depicted right here on the wall. Look at the detail. It's absolutely insane to believe that we went from this and then we advanced so much that we had to go back to horses and wagons, wooden sheds, no lights, and the rest, without any sort of reset. And at the same exact time, we have to believe that we are evolving and advancing. We have to believe that we're the most advanced group of humans to ever live here. This thought process is total nonsense at this point. Take a look at the size of these blocks of stone. And then we have more detailed stonework over here. This is all the same site. And does anybody see a single mistake? I don't see one. With more heads, again, removed here. We've shown this so many times now. Heads that would change our history forever. They would show that some humans had elongated heads, elongated skulls. I believe that this is exactly what's being hidden. An incredible location. I don't see any of our towns today just throwing one of these together. And it's not even close. Finding coins at the site that clearly depict more griffins. This is an animal that connects the whole world to Tartaria. An animal that I believe at this point was 100% here and a part of this world. Just insane detail over and over at this site. It's just perfect. If you were an advanced civilization, you would construct your palaces in stone and granite. You would know that this material will survive the weathering process. And future civilizations, like us, will end up seeing it. Unless, of course, that civilization, us, go in there and destroy it. And we've seen that so many times. And it's still happening today. But this is when we look into the narrative. And the narrative tells all of us that the earliest remains date back to 515 BC. On the money. 515 BC, like 2,500 years ago. On the dot. Not 516 and not 514. Not 541, not 512. This is crazy. 515. It's unbelievable. And of course, it's all protected by our friends. Right here. Since 1979. Nobody else was protecting it before that, and it was perfectly fine. And if you were on the fence about all of this, if you thought that these narratives were totally true, and if you thought that Ernst Herzfeld figured it all out, and he cracked the code in 1931, I'm just gonna ruin adult story time for you. Finally excavated the site in the early 1930s, and then knowing that the complex was taken by the army of Alexander the Great in 330 BC. This is exactly 2,354 years ago. Not 2,353 years ago, but exactly 2,354 years ago. They just found this place, and now they're pinning down a date from thousands of years ago. He takes the complex, and soon after this, it was completely destroyed by a fire. Likely deliberately. And I'm gonna ask you one more time. Are you still on the fence? Do you believe that these stories still happened? Do you think that they really pinned down that date? You don't think these narratives are auto-generated? 100%. This is a worldwide operation. It's not just in Texas, like we have seen. It's not just in Peru. These fires and these coded messages within the narrative that we're all told, it is everywhere. And it's in every single state, every country, and every single continent. We have shown this. This narrative is total nonsense. It's not what really happened here. There's very clear evidence that there has been an extremely advanced civilization right here where we all live. And it's so obvious at this point. We know that there was a previous civilization here that constructed in stone to show off how technologically advanced they really were. Worldwide, this site includes a 1,350,000 square foot terrace, which is partly artificially constructed and partly cut out of a mountain. Are you joking? So they were also in the carving palaces into mountains business. Donkeys Incorporated. They just leveled up in Iran. And then we all decide we don't want to be that advanced anymore, and we all just want to live in a hut. No, that didn't happen. We didn't decide to go ride around on dirt roads. We didn't decide to go back to the hand-wiping community. This is all deliberately planned. This is a reset. The plane, the train, the TV, the cell phone, AI, and the robots. Everything that you're gonna see has all been here before. And we can all see this very clearly now. We're not the most advanced civilization ever. We are 2,000 years ahead of these people, and we are still building houses with vinyl siding. Not one palace in my town has gone up in the last 20 years. Have you ever seen this in your town? We are not the most advanced civilization ever. Now, let's drop the guy down. I want to show you something. We have very nice symbolism Over here, we have one entrance. I believe that these are entrances, and I'll show you. So we have one over here, and then there's another one over here. I believe this is a much larger structure that has been completely melted. It totally looks like it could have been a pyramid type shape. Just take a look at it for yourself. You can think whatever you want, but nobody can deny it does have entrances, and it does have the sides. And then there's an old world palace city right here in front of it. So let's take this up a notch and go underground, where recent geological studies at the historical site indicate that the old world used knowledge of geology. The experts, the old world, were well aware of the science of geology and were keen to discover underground sources of water right underneath all of this on the ground. They have a tunnel system. The studies show that the old world experts had acquired specialized knowledge and technology. This is exactly like we've stated hundreds of times. Us suggesting that the old world had extremely powerful technology is being proven through their construction that has lasted centuries. We all know this already, and we understand this fully, that the old world was worldwide. A previous advanced civilization was here. Going on to say, it is unclear how the old world civilization mastered these skills. Well, the thing is when you think that you come from a monkey in the ocean, when you think that we are evolving from nothing, and we're all at the ultimate peak of humanity, you would say it is unclear how they mastered these skills. We all understand here that there was a massive population here before all of us. They had incredible tools, incredible training processes, things that this history is not telling us. And I believe that we've also shown that they had assistance from angels. Not only is this documented in text, it's also engraved into the stone in every continent. And like I've said, I trust what is depicted in the stone rather than what some guy says in 1931. What do you think? And unfortunately, the incredible construction techniques used were all forgotten. Where I'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to get it back. Now I'm going to show you just how massive this previous civilization was. I'm going to show you that this was happening all over the place. 7.5 miles northwest of this location, we have another site that has entrances to a massive melted structure. This is an absolutely incredible location that my history teacher showed me a total of -5 times. He mentioned this place every time I was over in math class. And whenever I went to my locker, this place was mentioned all the time when I was never there. Oh, wait, no. He never mentioned this place. You know, I'll be honest with you all. I would have been so much happier just skipping over the fake Columbus story and just learning all about these incredible sites. If they were gonna brainwash me with lies anyway. At least show me some cool structures. They aren't gonna do that though, and we all know why. They don't want us seeing this. And you might say, why not? Why wouldn't they want you to see this? We would all start asking so many questions. Like, why are there two insane stone carved sites, like 7.5 miles apart from each other, built over 2,000 years ago? And then why does one of the sites have tunnels underneath it? Wait, why did humans have technology for underground water systems, knowing all about geology, and then they lost the technology and went backwards? But then you're telling me in my other classroom that I'm evolving and I'm advancing. This is not the kind of thought process that they want, especially when we find out that it wasn't just one site. It was all over the world, including this location. All of this is just for decoration. Are you sure? First of all, before we go on, I need you to take a look at these people down here. And then I need you to ask yourself, how in the heck Are they gonna get up to the top and cut into this solid rock? This is a civilization, we are told, that supposedly had nothing. They are so much worse off than we are today. Supposedly no power tools, riding around on their donkey for thousands of years. They couldn't come up with one invention until we all got here. They just needed our help so much. Yet, they just go all over the place making palaces. These palaces are places that blow our minds today, all for decoration. Look at the size of these people. And I 100% believe that this was once a massive structure. These are doors to the palace. This has since been melted. We've seen it all over the world now. The exterior is completely melted. This site is known for its rock-cut tombs. These monumental tombs are carved into the cliff face, creating chambered spaces within the rock with small tunnels and channels present here as part of the drainage system. All for decoration, we were told. This is complete nonsense. This was a palace and it held a drainage system because I guarantee you, if you started cutting away this front layer, you would be able to enter it still. Probably constructed, in the first half of the 6th century BC. Not the second half, but the first half, where Carl the Snail just pins this date down by reading the stars. The first half of the 6th century BC. This is nonsense. And what are they doing to it? This place has been completely fine since the first half of the 6th century BC. And now out of nowhere, it needs our help. It needs our incredible scaffolding. No, it does not. I want to know in the comments, do you think that they're really helping this place? There are so many locations that don't belong in our timeline. They expose that what we are being told is ridiculous. These are all palaces that we can go and see for ourselves. Unless, of course, there's a war going on or they blow it all up, which we've seen in Syria, as well as other places. This is located in Merv, Turkmenistan. We just saw this logo in the center right here. And now we're also seeing it over here. This site gives us another narrative where it says, "Then they set fire to the city and burned the tomb." We all know, if you've done this research for a while, that Turkmenistan is a very odd place. There's so many old world structures here. But with this one, we can clearly see melting yet again. An event took place that completely wiped out this previous civilization. This event melted its structures. The stone looks like it's dripping. It is so weird. And then take a look at this angle. Imagine what this place looked like before being melted like this. These are all the stone and granite structures that are still here today. Do you think that they possibly constructed palaces using other materials that aren't as tough as stone and granite? I'm just gonna guess and say yes. I believe that these stone palaces were constructed to show the next civilization what the previous civilization was capable of. The structures that used the other materials are obviously gone now. Exactly how our box-style buildings would be gone in the wind. This is such a weird sight. You can see the melting so clearly. And check this one out. Look at the bricks at the bottom and how it once looked. And then look at the rest of it. Could you even imagine what is underneath all this dirt right here? I would bet that this mud-flooded layer of dirt is covering up so much more. Finding mosques in the late 1800s, our timeline again. We must have just been riding around on those donkeys' backs saying, what the did we miss? Why are there stone and granite palaces all over the place? And then I go to my little classroom that's built with wood, and then my teacher telling me and my friends that we are living in the most advanced time ever. The most technology, writing with their local duck's feather, walking down their dirt road with potholes everywhere. they were having no fun, and the most fun they'd have is to go outside and make a candle, looking across the dirt road at an old world palace. But teacher, what about all the palaces in my little town? Wait, what did you just say? The palaces in my... You better get your butt over to the asylum. This is what you call being a finder, or a founder, 100%. This is what happened in every continent in the 1800s. And then they gave us these fabricated narratives, telling all of us all about the pottery that they found. The pottery is an incredible tactic to distract us from the truth, saying it was yellow and green pottery, with turquoise and black pottery bowls in the other palace, with Mongol-style pottery as well. The pottery is a distraction, 100%. It gives all of us the satisfaction that they found something at the site. And once we see that they found something, we stop digging. We accept that they were primitive and only knew how to make pottery, when in reality, they probably just made this pottery after finding the site, and then telling all of us that that's what they found. When we've seen that they destroy items, they block sites off from the public and remove what they really found. In some cases, finding 7,000 elongated skulls and hiding the true past, confusing everybody with nonsense, so that we all stop asking questions. Not anymore. Our friends are everywhere. They love our research. This is the location on Google Earth, and they only allow you to put the guy down on this one spot, which shows you the inside of this structure. This one is just so odd. It's so crazy. Here's another photo of it from the other side. These are all structures and sites that solidify what we are saying here. It's so clear that something happened that we are not being told about. Something happened that we have melted structures and sites, including this one, the Fortress of Infidels, destroying a worldwide population and setting it back to basically zero, giving us these stats and letting us see them, as well as the photos from the 1800s. It does feel like a game. We are exposing it all, week by week, showing sites that have been hidden for far too long, structures that do not belong in this fake timeline, that we are all force-fed since day one, a timeline that is flawed. We are not given the truth about our history. The world is understanding this now. We can see for ourselves that sites like this have a much deeper meaning. Something definitely happened here. A powerful group of people being able to construct palaces in every single continent. Merv, a location that since the 1890s has only been excavated by the Russians, the Americans, and the Soviets, and then just making up whatever history they'd like about the site for all of us to believe, telling all of us all about who was occupying the site in the 6th century BC, 2,600 years ago. Finding all of this out by dusting the stone off with a brush in the last 150 years. And then testing the local bush. The alarm clock has been ringing. It is time for all of us to wake up. An incredible location, a site that was just discovered in 1972. A previous civilization was here, and it just might have been civilizations. Today we have found the Lost City, an ancient city that was found in Colombia, where they just found this place in 1972. And then, based on a wild guess, by asking the local rabbit, they figured out that this was believed to have been a city from 1,224 years ago, in the year 800, supposedly predating Machu Picchu by 650 years. Not 700 years, not 600 years, but pinning that down to exactly 650 years. All thanks to Bugs Bunny and his friends. This place is incredible. The entrance can be accessed only by climbing up 1,200 stone steps through a jungle in Colombia. Could you even imagine the people of the 800s, the stories that we are told about them, where they had no power tools, no cars, just barebacking the heck out of that donkey, all the way up the steps in the jungle, just riding the crap out of that donkey for miles, bringing the stone all the way to the site and just suffering. It's complete nonsense. They clearly had technology back then that we are not being told about. The site consists of 169 terraces carved into the mountainside, a network of tiled roads, and several small circular plazas. Now I'm going to show you how they steal the items from the site. Check this out. In 1972, they found this site. They tell us that this group was a small family of looters in Colombia. This is the group that supposedly found it. And maybe they did. But when they tell us that they found it by stumbling upon the stone steps while hunting a wild turkey. We have all seen the story where they found caves in India while out there hunting tigers. Reoccurring stories yet again, where they're just off hunting animals and accidentally bump into some sort of old world palace. So they climb all the way up the stones and discover an abandoned city. This is in 1972, remember. And out of nowhere, there's now a murder and a fight breaks out among this group. So then the gold figures and ceramic urns from the old world site begin to appear on the black market. Of course they do. Who killed the son? Was this done by the hidden group? You tell me. And then alerting the archaeologists, because their ridiculous mainstream narrative just might get exposed. What did this group find at the site in Colombia in 1972? Needing to alert the archaeologists and a team led by the director of this group. And they got to this site before that year, 100%. But we are all given the year 1976. I don't believe that it took 4 years. There's no way. And for the biggest giveaway of all time, and to blow everybody's mind at how this operation works worldwide. And our true history is 100% hidden from all of us. If you were unsure before, this should wake you up quick. The site was reconstructed for 6 years. They destroyed and are hiding our true history from all of us between 1976 and 1982. Can you believe what we just read? How can anything be trusted from this point forward about this site? How can we know this? Look at the narrative and trust what they're telling us about it. It could not be any clearer that they have stolen the old world items. They destroyed anything that would have shown the world that they are liars and pretended like they just knew all about the 800s. Complete robbery. Total manipulation on a grand scale. Whatever is left from the site today is crumbs. It is nothing compared to what was actually found in 1972. Now the thing about the jungle is that they couldn't just go in there in the 1700s, before we all got here, and chop the heads off of all the statues, like they did in all the other continents. So when they found this place in the 1970s, they had to rush in there, most likely kill one of the people that found it, because these people, they didn't want to give it up. They had just found something incredible. And then they just sent the superhero archaeologists in there. It is a clear operation. This is how it works, or at least did, where they left behind this rock for us to see. Pretending like the old world just grabbed some rocks and scratched a bunch of marks on the rock. When let's all be honest, they probably just did this to the rock during the renovation project. This rock is not from the old world. This rock is from the 1970s. Then they go on to tell us that indigenous peoples had established advanced communities 1,500 years before the Spanish had arrived. Meaning, 1,500 years before 1492 is the year -8 in advanced community. And then we all went back to dirt roads in the 1800s, sleeping in huts. But at the exact same time, we are told that they were the most advanced group ever. And we are all evolving and advancing. How many of you think that we are evolving and advancing now? If I had to take a guess, it's not as many as before. Telling us that they had gardens in the year 8, growing tomatoes and corn. Can you believe that they made this stuff up for so many years? And we were all just like, oh yeah, the corn. Wow. Yes, the avocados. This is crazy. Come on, archaeologists, tell us more. We want to know more about the year 8. I just want to hear so much more about the corn that they grew. Tell me all about the tomatoes and the pineapples of the past. Tell me all about the year 8. How the children from 2,000 years ago would be told stories from elders and learn to create fabrics to make clothes. Can you believe this is what we are told? Can you believe that there are so many people out there still that believe this nonsense? I really hope that nobody is looking at this saying, yeah, you guys, they really did tell stories about making clothes 2,000 years ago. The archaeologists know all about this. They learned all about this by brushing away the dirt with their paintbrush. And I know this because the scholars told me so. They went to school for this, and they would never lie to me. They wouldn't totally distract me from the truth by telling me all about the corn and tomatoes from the year 8. They wouldn't do this to me. It is incredible what we have all been reading for years and fully trusted. And for so many, they still do. Around 1970, farmers learned of the possibilities of finding old world great treasures. So these farmers organized themselves without the archaeologists, which the mainstream did not like at all. So they changed these farmers' names from farmers to looters. These people, the farmers, are doing the same exact activity that the archaeologists do repeatedly. This activity of finding the old world items without an archaeologist present, or in other words, the mainstream narrative being present. This is an illegal activity. Can you believe this? Our entire history is 100% controlled worldwide, and this just proves it. Every single site in the world has gone through the controlling group that writes the stories the way that they want to. They add what they want to the story and remove items and anything that doesn't fit in with the mainstream narrative, and they keep it for themselves. And yet again, another story where the farmers, that are now called looters, went deeper into the Sierra until 1973, when they found the lost city and found all of the old world items. So another group, which I'm guessing was the mainstream narrative, sending their group in. And of course, both leaders were killed in a bloody combat. They did not want these people reporting on what they found. This is incredible. Now there's something called LiDAR, which really started working in the 1980s. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. It uses laser pulses to measure distances by sending light to a target and measuring how long it takes for the light to bounce back. This creates a highly detailed 3D map of landscapes, structures, or objects. Thousands of these measurements are taken per second. And this works in jungles. So today they can go and find these sites so much easier. They have found all of them at this point. There's no doubt about that. I can guarantee that there's no more farmers just going off into the jungle and just finding random old world palaces in 2024. This group can now just fly one of these drones over the jungle and map the whole thing out. And we can all see this right on the World Monuments Fund's website, where they tell us that archaeologists completed LiDAR mapping of this location in 2019, where they found more than 200 structures, including dwellings, terraces, stone paths, plazas, ceremonial sites, storehouses, and canals. And guess what? We all know there's more that we are not being told about or shown. In 2023, they let us know that the WMF took this site on as part of its project portfolio and will, of course, continue to work at this site, meaning that they have found more. Now, I do find it extremely odd that they would leave any of these places. It's one of three things, in my opinion, at this point. It's like they either don't care if we figure it out, they want us to try to figure it out like it's some sort of game, or they have to allow us to be able to figure it out if we want to. Otherwise, we all know that they would have just blown this place up and just said that there's a war among the farmers and called them looters. And one of the looters just decided to bomb the place because if he couldn't have it, then nobody could. And we would all believe it for years because they told us. And they wouldn't lie about that. But the fact that it's still there in some capacity is very interesting. Now, just looking at these photos and knowing what we know, I would guess that there is so much more underneath this. I would guess that this is a roof and there are tunnel networks underneath it. And this is what they could be looking into starting in 2023, where they continued to work at the site, especially when we are told that the lost city in Colombia does have underground tunnels. There are reports and evidence of tunnels. These tunnels are believed to have been part of a system that connect different areas of the city and possibly linked this lost city to other settlements in the region. Possibly. Maybe. When we all know that it does. They are still being explored and studied today, showing that we were correct yet again. And we know exactly why the WMF is back at the site in 2023. They have found so much more. Much of the site remains hidden in the jungle and continues to be uncovered by the mainstream narrative. Oh no. I mean archaeologists. The complexity of this site, its architecture with its terraces, circular plazas, and elevated paths, suggests that the builders, the old world, as we all know here, were highly skilled builders who may have used the tunnels as part of their infrastructure. Could you even imagine what is going on in these tunnels? What do they really lead to? I have to be honest. I start these episodes off by just being amazed by the sight that I'm seeing. And then after getting into the episode a little, I start wondering, does this site have tunnels? And time again, in every single country, all over the world, it has a network of tunnels, structures, under our feet, which makes me wonder, if it's in every single city in the world, like we've seen here, do these tunnels all connect to each other from North America to South America? Is there a massive web under our feet that has been there from the old world? How many people are in these tunnels today? What is going on below our feet? It's so interesting when you really think about it. It's basically a whole other world right below the ground. They have been stacked into geometric patterns below churches all over the world. We have 3 episodes on this to this point. They are now called catacombs, where it is estimated that over 1 million people per year purchase a ticket to support this. And they just go looking around these catacombs. We have been fooled for so long. As a whole, an incredible operation that has honestly done a really great job accomplishing its goal, to keep the masses in a trance. So they just found this place in the 1970s, and out of nowhere, in 2003, 8 foreign tourists were kidnapped at the site. And I have to ask, how many times do you think this has happened over the years that we just didn't hear about? And 2 years later, the site was up and running again. And there have been no problems since. And they make sure we know there have not been any more kidnappings that we know of. Remember, this place has been found for so long. We finally find it in the 70s. And in 2009, It now needs our help, of course. The Global Heritage Fund has been working to preserve and protect the historic site against the climate. So we have so many groups here today, all interested in this location for some reason. There has to be something going on there. Multiple groups just hanging out, protecting it from the sun. We are told from people that are going to this site today, you have to be very careful here because most accidents happen on the wet, uneven steps. The stairs lead steeply up the mountain like a green tunnel. You can read the rest, but getting to the top of this thing is insane. Uneven steps, steeply up the mountain. There were no horses and wagons climbing up this mountain. And it's apparently only bearable to get there in the morning hours. The previous civilization was incredible. The amount of sites that we have shown to this point is unbelievable. I think back to places like Mount Nemrut, where they were up in the sky basically, constructing stone faces, or caves in the middle of the jungle in India. Palmyra, Syria, having massive columns all over the place. What an incredible place that we all live. So many structures from the old world that have now been shown to the world again. Clearly, there was an advanced group of people here that had incredible technology and so much more. I think that the people that we all think of as incredible inventors today, I would guess that these people are chosen and used as the front people to give all of us the old world technology back slowly, all according to their plan, so that it's all done in a controlled manner, a controlled environment, just based on everything that we have seen. This seems most plausible. It's exactly what I would do if I had all the old world technology and had an end goal of wanting to rule the world. I do find mistakes once in a while, such as the camera. I do believe that this was a mistake. I think that it was given back a little too quick, unless, of course, it's all a game. That they wanted to see if we could find this information. And they knew that we would need to be able to see the past, the 1800s, with the Cologne Cathedral or the Milan Cathedral. Palaces in the background, with the 1800s dirt roads, their wooden sheds, wooden wheels, and the horse and wagon community. We would need to be able to see these pictures in order for the game to continue. In order for us to understand what we are looking for. I really enjoy sharing this information with all of you. It is really cool to see this community grow to a bigger and bigger audience every single week. Being able to reach brand new minds every day because of all of you. Now, there are so many places in the world that just don't belong in our timeline. Just like we have shown over and over, with ridiculous narratives that are clearly made up, where they just find the place and then know all about what happened at campfire story time in the year 8, including this site, staying in South America. We have the site of Pucara de Tilcara, where it's becoming so clear that based on the rediscovery dates, that our timeline just started a few hundred years ago, just like we have stated from episode 10 onwards, where they rediscovered this location in 1908. To clear this up, that means that they just found it. Finding it in 1908. This is not a rediscovery. This is a discovery. Finding it in 1908. And then cataloged over 3,000 artifacts during the first 3 years of digging. Clearing about 22,000 square feet. Incredible. In 1966, the Archaeological Museum began. This site is unbelievable. They didn't just find artifacts, they found bodies, telling us among the most valuable is a mummified body discovered, fully clothed, in an excellent state of preservation, where it is, of course, no longer being exhibited. You cannot go there and see the body. It is no longer open to the public, blocking all of us from the truth over and over. I'd love to know how many times we have found things that are just being blocked off from all of us. How can we trust the narrative when they don't even show us everything? I'll ask you something. Would you trust me if I did this to you? Of course not. So why is this acceptable for them? I don't believe it is. So they tell us that one body was found, where we all know that there was more. And that one body is being blocked off from all of us. So what else is being hidden from us? 5,000 valuable historic pieces that were found are on display. Could you imagine what was found here? And at this point, we are so locked in, fully understanding that these narratives have coded patterns. I love exposing these patterns to all of you, finding the patterns and never looking back, making sure that the narrative gives us all the pottery. You gotta give them the pottery, okay? So they don't ask about all the other stuff in the back. The previous civilization. The previous civilization was not just over there making a bunch of pottery and then having stone palaces, webbed underground networks, connecting it all with the stars, and then saying, okay, let's go make some pottery. Johnny, go get me the clay. Babe, I don't know if I'm gonna make it for dinner. It's gonna be a busy night with my clay pottery set. Just having arts and crafts nights on Wednesdays, basket weaving on Thursdays, and warrior training on Fridays. This is absolute nonsense. Telling us all about the year -8,000. Saying that traces of human habitation date back more than 10,000 years, with this tribe just moving in around the 12th century. Finding all of this in 1908. And then pretending to know all about the -8,000s. At this point, it actually seems like they have something wrong with them. Only if they actually believe their own lies, of course. I don't know, Brian. What do you think? Well, this stone looks a lot like a stone from the -3000s. I don't know. That sounds a little too close to our timeline. Well, -5? No, I don't think so. What about 8,000? Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds better. Let's go with that. Yeah. Well, see, Brian, do you see where it's chipped right here on the side? Right on the corner? This right here is clear evidence of a basket weaving, pottery making civilization from 10,000 years ago. So don't forget that for next time. I don't know what I was thinking suggesting the -3000s. This is crazy. And then we all sign up for their indoctrination classes. Oh, wait, no. I mean, history classes. And we all enjoy these stories about pottery makers of the past. And these history major individuals, they get really interested in it. So interested and invested that they want to go and visit the site. So they get on a plane, they get there, and then they're told that they can't see the body because of ethical and cultural concerns and or conservation issues and or it's now illegal. And then they say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. What else do you got? Well, we have some pottery. Oh, I'm so interested in pottery. Sign me up for the pottery. That is what I came here to see. And then off they go. I've personally had enough of the pottery excuse. I am ready to see the skulls that are being hidden from us from episode 96. I want to see the tunnels under the state capitol buildings that were meant for us from episode 100. I want to see it all. I believe we are on that path. The more people that know about these places, these sites, the things that are blocked off from us, the harder it's going to be to keep them locked in the basement, away from all of us. We know here that these heads were chopped off all of the statues, all over the world, where I believe that they expose that the old world had elongated heads, elongated skulls, a civilization that was not here as far back as we've been told. I believe that this is the reason that they find these heads, these skulls, and they either destroy them or they simply hide them from all of us over and over. And we are just getting started. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoy this channel. Today, we are going to show mathematically that the population worldwide in the last 1,400 years was basically zero. When the mainstream history tells us that at the exact same time period, where basically nobody was here, they were building palaces, castles, and cathedrals. And before we expose the population lie today, we have to get an understanding of how this all works from the bottom up. Welcome to Reims, France, where we hold one of the most incredible structures in the world, and it's under investigation today. The Reims Cathedral, where we are being told that the construction of this cathedral started in the year 1211, where this is 813 years ago. Now, in the USA, they can tell us that these type of cathedrals were built in the 1800s. So they're at least trying to fit this type of construction into this mainstream timeline that we're given today. But when we go over to Europe, they just don't seem to care one bit. They throw dates around and everyone just accepted it for years. Could you imagine that next week, any city in the world tells us that one of these are going to be thrown together? I think the world would be shocked. Yet, when we are told that this was built 813 years ago, in the year 1211, we all just said, yeah, that sounds like a good year. Until now. Because we have patterns to look for, especially when a building holds the fire narrative, where we have found over 100 buildings to this point that hold a fire narrative, which is no longer mathematically possible. And this one's going to be added to the group when we are told that this cathedral in France wasn't even the first one. They had an even earlier church that was destroyed by a fire a year before construction began on this new one. And this one lasts forever. So they knocked this thing out in 80 years when, let's be honest, if we didn't have a power tool or a car or a shipping company or any architectural training processes today, do any of us actually believe that our civilization would just knock this thing out in 80 years? Realistically, I'd love to know in the comments below how long you think this building would take today. I'm interested to see what you all think, especially because we're being told that this building was built over 800 years ago. The fact that we can see these buildings all over the world, they're still here. It's not like I'm talking about something that's a hidden mystery. We can all go there and look at it, and then compare it to the buildings that we produce today, which is supposedly over 800 years of evolving and advancing, and it's not even close. So let's think about this for a second. We are supposed to believe that they had construction down, and it was perfect since the beginning of time. Yet nothing else advanced. Only construction. Building palaces was the only thing the 1200s were good for, apparently. The problem is that the buildings are the only thing that are left from the 1200s, which is exactly why they're forced to make these dates up in order to try to explain them into our fabricated timeline. Whereas a car or a watch, a phone, a plane, and a helicopter, they've all been here before as well. They just aren't built into the ground all over the world for all of us to see, when the buildings are. We are told that the designer of this cathedral was Jean de Orbais. And who exactly was this master designer? Starting at point guard, making his debut for the France National Historians. Jean constructed the Abbey Church, or did he find it? Where they tell us that the Abbey was found at the end of the 7th century. And don't worry, they had construction down, of course. Still there in the town center today. When they go on to say 600 years later, Jean debuts building the St. Pierre St. Paul Church, where it was built between the end of the 12th century and early 13th century. And we have all of this documented, of course. No. Today, we are going to show that there were mathematically, basically, no people here in the 12th and the 13th century. A time that the mainstream history likes to tell us was knocking out palaces. So they were just throwing dates around, telling us that they constructed the St. Paul Church between the end of the 12th and beginning of the 13th century, from 800 years ago. And we were all just nodding in acceptance for 200 years, with zero documentation proving this. This is all based on trust. And this group that we're supposed to be trusting has proven to be pretty shady, where they tell us that the architecture is superb, particularly the facade with its 2 towers, the choir with ambulatory, with 5 radiating chapels. Interesting. And telling us that in 1835, that the population of this location was only 1,000 people. And the population of England since 1801, the exact timeline that we're talking about here worldwide, from the beginning point of this fabricated mainstream timeline, beginning around 1776, was at around 9 million people. It has grown to over 56 million in just the last 220 years. So if we do the math on this, the population is decreasing at a rate of 83.92% in just the last 220 years. And this fact alone should get everyone thinking. This stat shows that in the year 1141, the time period that they're talking about here, according to the math, based on data that they're providing, the population of England would sit at 37,898 people. In the entire country, having only 37,000 people in the year 1141 and knocking out palaces is not mathematically probable at all. You would think that there would be a single argument that goes the mainstream history's way. You would think that if their tales were true, this type of stuff would not happen. Yet, every single time you go deeper, there is yet another flaw. The worldwide population mathematically was basically zero based on everything that we know and have seen. In my opinion, I believe that anything before 1776 is basically fabricated, and an attempt to fit into this timeline that we are all in. And this is when we take it a step further and we go to Spain. And according to the worldometers.info, Spain's population sits at roughly 47 million people, growing around 18 million people in the last 69 years. This drop off of people is so dramatic worldwide that, in my opinion, proves that the beginning of our timeline, our batch of people, was simply not that long ago. This is according to their math, their numbers, that anyone in the world can go look at. These people of the 12 and 1300s were supposedly also without shipping companies. They were without power tools, no light bulbs, and suffering. Again, they give us these stories of the past and tell us that there were events. They tell us all of these things where the population was this and that. But at the end of the day, we are not 100% sure that these stories from the 1300s are true. So the only math we can go off of is what we are provided from when we are actually here and documenting it. And now we can do the same thing with the worldwide population, where the population is decreasing at a rate of 66.1765% every 69 years. The rate of the population worldwide should not be increasing or decreasing by 66%. This is obviously showing that there's something going on. At this rate, 1886 would have realistically only had 928 million people, and 1817 worldwide would mathematically already have been down to 314 million people. And this is information that is provided to us, sitting right here in front of our faces, where they, in my opinion, were just waiting for us to find this. At this point, I think this is a game to this group to see who can figure this out. All of this information is all here provided with clues. All we have to do is simply look. The math doesn't lie. The worldwide population would mathematically drop down to only 106 million people in 1748. In 1679, according to this math, there were only 35 million people here. Worldwide, the population in 1610 would have only been 11.8 million. 3.9 million people in 1541, and if we bring it all the way back to the year 1200, 800 years ago, the exact same year that the mainstream history is telling us all about, like they were there and saw it happening themselves. They saw those 1200s and 1300s people just smacking those stones right into place, and they're there forever. They are telling us that it was built at the end, not the beginning, but at the end of the 12th century at this rate, every 69 years, decreasing by 66% overall. Nobody is even here. Only 17,700 people worldwide, and this is all based on basic math and numbers that are provided to us. And if this is true, this completely disproves these stories, these tales that people in the 13th century we're building massive cathedrals. It basically puts an end to all historical narratives suggesting that a population of basically nobody, more specifically 17,000 people worldwide, were as advanced or more advanced than we are today in terms of construction that we can still see today, yet being primitive, wearing night outfits, and fighting with swords, having zero power tools, no light bulbs, riding around on horses, and not having a single truck to ship millions of pounds of stone. No form of communication other than using their local raven to send messages to far lands. Having provided zero factual evidence that they were ever even transporting stones, and zero mention of any training processes ever, leaving this part of the story out every single time, or ever explaining how these shipping routes were all figured out. Where is the evidence that we need to show that their stories are true? Where is it? That civilization of nobody with nothing had the capabilities to construct castles, cathedrals, basilicas, and the rest. No. Once you actually stop and think about it for 2 seconds, it simply doesn't add up. The 1200s, riding by feathers and sleeping in huts, suffering in winters, yet knocking out massive cathedrals, faster and in most cases much better than we do today. And they last for thousands of years, and they survive floods, hurricanes, and the rest. And their population was mathematically proven to be basically nobody. This tale that we are told is nonsense at this point. Now that we all have an understanding that the worldwide population, the math, is on our side, that this is not probable, let's continue to our bonus today. An ancient cathedral located in Athens, Greece. A photo that was taken in 1860, 164 years ago, where we have shown that the worldwide population was just over 300 million, nowhere near the 8 billion mark that we are told that we have today. A cathedral that was sitting on dirt. We're gonna zoom in on this thing and find something incredible. The detail on the front of this building is unbelievable. We know that Tartaria's flag was a griffin. We've seen this logo on buildings all over the world, which we have even seen in episode 40 when we went to Wisconsin. As we get closer to the front of this building in Greece, we have a logo of the previous civilization. And again, these photos were taken in the 1800s in a collection by Nicholas Katsimpoulas. And here we have the Acropolis in Athens, Greece. And I was just looking at this area on Google Earth where there is another hill next to the Acropolis. I saw these stairs on the side of this hill, and it's weird because they won't let you drop the view down on them and get a closer look at them. It seems to me like this grass and dirt is covering a much larger structure that we can't see, with the stairs being exposed on the side. It looks like it's been melted and they've just built on top of it. It's very strange. So here at the top, that's where these stairs are. And down here at the bottom is the Acropolis. So you can see how close they are to each other. And before we even look at the mainstream narrative surrounding it, it should just show anyone in a split second that this site was clearly constructed by an advanced civilization. We have detailed columns all over the place. We have some sort of stage here, and we have a mainstream story that should be a lot of fun for us today. And now that we have unlocked the advanced civilization of Mu in episodes 60 and 61 that I think a lot of us enjoyed, we understand where these buildings and people most likely originated from, where Lemuria holds the name Mu inside of it, putting it right in our faces. The Hill of Mu-sis, where Mu is also right in the name, meaning a type of goddess in Greek mythology. Another connection to Mu. It's very interesting. And before we go on with this mainstream narrative, I have to point this out. We all understand that these scaffolding that they have here for decades are put here to make us believe that our civilization is somehow helping the ancient structure survive, repairing it, when we all know that it doesn't need our help at all. This site was obviously destroyed on purpose. It is not crumbling and falling apart over time. The scaffolding is, in a sense, a magic trick. It's there to make 99% of people think that our civilization is giving this place an upgrade, making our civilization think that we are more advanced and that it needs our help when it doesn't need our help at all. When we construct our buildings like this, And then you have the previous civilization's work towering over it. We are not evolving, and we are not advancing. We have a side-by-side comparison right here. Now that we have a solid understanding of this area and what it looks like a little bit, let's all take this thing up a notch and have some fun. We know that the population mathematically was basically nothing in the 1200s. We've calculated it to around 17,700 people worldwide. Now, could you imagine the 600s based on the math and the data that we've been given at a decreasing population rate of 66.17% every 69 years, where we saw that there would have only been 11.8 million people in 1610 and 17,000 people in the year 1196. Well, I did the math, and based on the numbers that they have provided us, and based on a 66.1765% population decrease rate per 69 years, in the year 600, the population worldwide would have been 3 people, meaning that either the beginning of human existence was in or around the year 644, based on math, or something massive happened and reset the population very recent. Either way, something massive is going on here that's just been uncovered, especially when the mainstream history tells us that the acropolis of Athens, Greece, was constructed on a massive hill around the year -1300 to -1200, which we know the population worldwide would have been 0. Even if the population hasn't always decreased at 66%, the simple fact is that going back in time, the population decreases. This is proven through the data that they provided us. The population in -1300, however you want to go about it, would have been 0. If you are going off the mainstream story, their data, you can say that there were plagues. You can say that there were these stories, when we know that these stories have massive flaws at this point. Anything provided hundreds of years ago can easily be picked apart. We have done this hundreds of times at this point, based on facts, things that we can prove, things that we have here right in front of us, data. It proves to me that we aren't wrong. The population data was always a massive key for us, a key that proves that there was a previous civilization here before us, and something massive happened in this place that we all live, right around the year 1776, worldwide. This information, this data, that 3 people were here worldwide in the year 644. This math, it's been here. It's always been here. It's just been waiting for us to see it. And now that we all do, we can all go much, much deeper.